My name is Alexis Monroe, and I'm 32 years old, a freelance country singer scraping by in East Nashville's music heart. Life now feels like a perfect harmony with my husband and our 9-month-old daughter in our little wooden house. Every weekend, we drive out to Franklin's Calm, where my grandma cradles my baby girl, singing soft folk tunes. It's peaceful, like a ballad after a storm. But 2.5 years ago, my world shattered at a family dinner. I stood up, heart pounding, and said, "I'm going to die." My parents laughed. My sister sneered. What an actor. I walked out in silence, their mockery burning in my chest. That night changed everything. Who I trusted, who I called family. 2 years later, they showed up at my doorstep, begging on their knees. I just smiled and asked, "So someone's about to die, stick around to hear how I reclaimed my life from their betrayal, and why karma always finds its mark. Let me know what city you are in. I want to know how far this story spreads." That family dinner's echo still rattled in my head as Dylan and I drove home from Franklin the next morning, the Tennessee sun filtering through the truck's windshield. But the real blow landed just a few days later, on a humid Saturday night in May 2022. We'd been married 3 months, still buzzing from our small courthouse wedding in downtown Nashville, dreaming of filling our wooden house with kids' laughter. I was headlining a low-key set at the Bluebird Cafe, a spot where legends like Taylor Swift got their start. The crowd was intimate, maybe 50 folks nursing beers. Eyes on me as I strummed my guitar and poured my heart into a new ballad about lost highways and second chances. The verse about finding your way home hit its peak, my voice rising with the melody, when a shop stab exploded behind my eyes like 1,000 guitar strings snapping at once. My fingers fumbled the chords. The world tilted, and I crumpled to the stage floor, the mic screeching feedback as it hit the wood. Gas rippled through the room. Dylan's face was the last thing I saw before blacking out, his shout cutting through the haze. "Alexis, call 911. I woke to the sterile beep of machines and the harsh, fluorescent buzz of Vanderbilt University Medical Center. My head throbbed like a bass drum in overdrive, every pulse sending waves of nausea. Dylan sat beside the bed, his hand crushing mine, eyes red-rimmed from whatever hell I'd dragged him through. "Babe, you're back," he whispered, voice cracking. A man in a white coat, Dr. Marvin Grant, mid-50s with a calm that bordered on unnerving, stepped forward, chart in hand. "Alexis, I'm going to level with you. Scans show aggressive glioblastoma, stage 4, without intervention. We're looking at 3 months, tops." The words landed like a dropped mic in a silent venue. Glioblastoma. I'd Googled it once after a friend's scare brain cancer, the kind that doesn't play fair. 3 months. We were planning our first anniversary trip to the Smokies, talking nursery colors for a baby that didn't exist yet. Panic clawed up my throat, hot and unrelenting. What can we do?" I managed, my voice a rasp. Dr. Grant's gaze didn't waver. "There's an experimental immunotherapy trial here at Vanderbilt. Cutting edge, but promising, could buy you years if it takes. First phase runs $200,000, out of pocket. No insurance covers trials like this." $200,000. The number hung in the air, heavier than the IV drip starting in my arm. Dylan squeezed my hand tighter, his jaw set. "We'll figure it out. Whatever it takes." But as Dr. Grant left with promises of more tests, the room closed in. I pictured Dylan alone in that house, packing away my guitars, explaining to our unborn kid why Mom vanished. The dread settled deep. What if this stole our chance at a family chemo? Radiation, they ravage everything, including fertility. I'd read the forums, the horror stories of women robbed of motherhood after treatment. Tears burned my cheeks. "Dylan, what if I can't? What if we never get to have her?" He leaned in, forehead to mine. "Hey, we're not there yet. One fight at a time. You're the strongest voice I've ever heard. We'll sing through this." His words anchored me, but the fear lingered, a low chord humming under my skin. We couldn't do it alone. That night, as nurses poked and prodded, we mapped a plan. Our savings from gigs and Dylan's freelance engineering work totaled $120,000, decent, but a drop in the bucket. "We sell the truck, pawn my rings," Dylan suggested, scrolling expense apps on his phone. I shook my head. "No, we call in favors first, people who actually show up." The next morning, Discharge papers in hand, doctor. Grant's warning ringing. Symptoms flare fast. Get back here if headaches spike. We headed home. The Nashville skyline blurred past. A reminder of dreams we'd built brick by gig. I dialed first to Logan Grant, my college buddy turned music producer, the guy who'd co-written my breakout single back at Belmont University. The line crackled as it connected. Lex, Dylan said it's bad. Talk to me. I spilled it all, the collapse on stage, the diagnosis, the price tag that could bankrupt us. Silence stretched. Then his voice came firm. No hesitation. Screw the details. I'm wiring $50,000 right now. Interest-free. Pay me back when you're headlining Ryman again. My breath caught. Logan wasn't flush. He scraped by on indie projects like me. You sure? Man, this could be goodbye money. He laughed, short and sharp. Nah, your family the kind that sticks. Done. The transfer pinged minutes later, a lifeline in pixels. Relief washed over me, but the math still glared. $170,000 short, $20,000. Dylan paced the living room, our wedding photo mocking us from the mantel. Your folks next, or mine? I hesitated. My side, Kyle and Janet, had always been hit or miss, favoring Morgan's whims over mine. But Dylan's family, they'd welcomed me like blood from day one. Yours first. The Walshes won't flake. He hit speakerphone, dialing Philip and Deborah Walsh in their Green Hills bungalow. Philip picked up, voice warm as always. Son, everything okay? Dylan laid it out, my fall, the tumor, the trial. Deborah's gasp carried through the line, followed by her sob. Oh, Alexis, sweetheart, we're coming over. By evening. They arrived with takeout, BBQ, and a check for $80,000 from their retirement IRA. This is for our daughter-in-law's future, Philip said, hugging me fierce. No strings, family's about showing up. Not spreadsheets. Quinn Walsh, their 22-year-old daughter fresh out of Vanderbilt with a graphic design degree, burst in minutes later, eyes wide. Sis, I heard. Emptied my starter savings, $10,000. Use it for whatever keeps you singing. She thrust the envelope at me, her hands trembling. Quinn was just building her life. Rent in East Nashville, eating half her freelance pay. I pulled her into a hug, tears mixing with her perfume. You didn't have to, kiddo. She shrugged, fierce. Yeah, I did. You're the big sis I always wanted. The numbers added up to $160,000, staring back from the kitchen table like a half-written lyric. $20,000 short. The gap mocked me. A silent verse in our survival song. Dylan rubbed my back. We could crowdfund a GoFundMe. Nashville music community might rally. But pride stung. I'd built my career bootstrapping, not begging. No. One more call. My parents. If they say no, dinner this weekend. Face to face. They owe me that much. The dread twisted tighter. Visions of Morgan's sneer from family gatherings flashing unbidden. Fertility clocks ticked louder in my head. Dr. Grant had mentioned egg freezing as a backup. But even that costs thousands. What if treatment stole my shot at motherhood? What kind of legacy was a voice without echoes? Dylan kissed my temple. Whatever they say, we've got this. You're not fighting solo. As the sun dipped behind the Cumberland River, casting long shadows through our windows, I stared at my phone. The decision hung heavy. Swallow pride. Face the blood that might bleed me dry. Dinner would be the test. Who showed up when the lights went out? Sunday arrived like a storm cloud over the Cumberland, the air thick with unspoken dread as Dylan and I pulled into the gravel drive of my parents' suburban Nashville home. The decision from the kitchen table 2 days earlier weighed on us. But backing out wasn't an option. We needed that $20,000 to close the gap, to give the trial a fighting chance. Kyle and Janet's place looked the same as always, faded siding. A flagpole with the Tennessee state banner flapping lazily. Dylan squeezed my hand before we stepped out. We've got this. Short and sweet. The screen door creaked open to Janet's forced smile, her apron dusted with flour from whatever casserole she'd thrown together. Alexis, Dylan, come on in. Dinner's almost ready. The smell of roast chicken and cornbread wafted from the kitchen, a Sunday ritual I'd known since childhood, but tonight it turned my stomach. Kyle was in the living room, remote in hand, flipping through channels to a country music awards rerun. Hey, kids, grab a seat. Morgan was already there, perched at the dining table on her laptop, fingers flying over keys, probably plotting her next marketing pitch for some boutique agency downtown. She glanced up, barely, with that signature half-smirk. Long time. Sis. still chasing those open mics. We settled around the oak table, the one scarred from years of family meals, as Janet set down plates piled with chicken, green beans, and biscuits. Small talk flowed like weak coffee. Dylan's latest engineering gig, Morgan's big break on a client campaign. My fork scraped the plate, appetite gone, the words I'd rehearsed burning in my throat. Dylan caught my eye, nodding subtly. It was now or never. I set down my utensil, the clink echoing louder than it should. Everyone, I need to say something. It's serious. The room stilled, forks pausing midair. Kyle muted the TV. Janet wiped her hands on her napkin. Morgan closed her laptop with a soft click, leaning back like she was settling in for a show. I swallowed hard, Dylan's foot brushing mine under the table for strength. Last Saturday at the Bluebird, I collapsed on stage. The doctors at Vanderbilt, it's glioblastoma, brain cancer, aggressive. Without this experimental treatment, I've got 3 months. The hook words tumbled out, raw and unpolished. I'm going to die. Silence slammed down first, thick as the cornbread on my plate. Then Kyle barked a laugh, short and disbelieving, slapping his knee. Come on, Alexis, you're pulling our leg. Write like one of your dramatic song lyrics. Janet joined in, a nervous titter escaping as she patted his arm. Honey, medicine's advanced these days. You'll be fine, just push through like always. You're tough. My chest tightened, the room spinning slightly from the headache lurking at my temples. Morgan's eyes narrowed, her smirk curling into something sharper. She leaned forward, voice dripping with mock sympathy. What an actor. Always the star of the tragedy. What's the punchline? Need us to fund your next album. The sneer hit like a bad review in the Nashville scene, twisting the knife I'd handed them. Heat flooded my face, rage bubbling up from the pit where I'd buried years of their favoritism. My palm slammed the table hard enough to rattle the silverware, chicken juice sloshing over the edge of my plate. This isn't a joke, I'm dying. And all you can do is laugh, Morgan. You've got the nerve after everything I've done for this family. Dylan tensed beside me, his hand on my knee. But I was on my feet now, chair scraping back like a guitar feedback screech. Kyle's laugh faded, his face hardening into that familiar stern line. Sit down, Alexis. We get it, scary stuff, but life's not a ballad you rewrite. Janet nodded, glancing at Morgan with that protective glint. We've got our own bills. Just sold that plot out in Hendersonville for $300,000, put a deposit on a house for Morgan. $250,000 down, the rest in bank payments. Can't touch it now. The words gutted me, sharper than the tumor maps Dr. Grant had shown. A house for Morgan, the golden child who'd always gotten the private vocal lessons. The shiny used Honda at 16. The lavish birthday bashes with local fiddlers while mine were quiet takeout and a card. And now, with my life on the line, they chose bricks and mortar over me. Please, I begged, voice breaking as I gripped the table edge. $20,000. We'll pay it back, crowdfund. Gigs, whatever. It's for the trial, for a future. Morgan crossed her arms, her sneer lingering like smoke. Future you've got. Dylan's folks bankrolling you already, from what I hear. Sell a song or something. Or is this the part where we play villains in your sob story? Dylan's grip tightened on my knee, his whisper urgent. Babe, let's go. But I couldn't move, the betrayal rooting me. Kyle shook his head, final as a judge's gavel. No can do. Contracts are signed, banks breathing down our necks. Figure it out. Alexis, you're the independent one. The room blurred, nausea rising with the bile in my throat. Janet reached out, but her hand hovered, withdrawing. We'll pray for you, dear. Pray, as if words fixed tumors. My vision tunneled, the headache erupting into a full roar, needles pricking my skull. The world tilting like that stage all over again. I gasped, clutching my head. Dylan jumping up to steady me. She's seizing hospital. Now. He half carried me out. Their voices fading behind Kyle muttering, always dramatic. Morgan's scoff, classic. The truck door slammed, tires crunching gravel as Dylan floored it toward Vanderbilt. By the time we screeched into the ER. The pain had me curled in the seat, tears streaming. Dr. Grant met us at triage, his face grim as he ordered scans. Stress trigger could have been fatal. You need to start the trial yesterday. Lying in that cold bed again. IVs snaking in. The betrayal replayed on loop. How had I gotten here? Flashing back to girlhood. Morgan's room stuffed with sheet music from elite Nashville coaches, her Sweet 16, a catered affair with a DJ spinning twangy hits, while I scraped quarters for public school choir fees, belting Patsy Cline covers in empty garages. College, she got the full ride to Belmont on Dad's connections. I hustled 3 jobs waitressing at honky-tonks, bartending late shifts, demo recording for peanuts to cover community college tuition and our first apartment rent. Every milestone mine was sweat, hers, a gift-wrap bow, and the giving I'd never tallied it. But it stung now. 2018, after a tornado ripped the roof off their place, I wired $3,000 from my first royalty check, no fanfare. Just fix it quick. 2022, Kyle's old Ford died at 200,000 miles. I Venmo'd $5,000 for a down payment on his truck. Drive safe, Dad. Even Janet's kidney stone scare that October, I covered $1,000 in hospital copays from a canceled gig. Get better, Mom. Love you. They took without a whisper, but when I needed them, crickets. Morgan's house trumped my heartbeat. The monitors beeped steady as resentment hardened. Blood ties meant nothing if they snapped under weight. Dr. Grant returned with results, no new bleed, but push the trial. Time's not forgiving. Dylan stroked my hair, whispering promises of egg-freezing consults tomorrow. We'll build that family, Alexis, no matter what. As the pain meds dulled the edges, a quiet resolve settled like dust after a set. I'd face them again if I had to, but this betrayal carved a line in the sand. Who deserved my voice, not the ones who'd silenced it. The ER haze lifted with dawn's light seeping through the blinds, but the betrayal's sting lingered sharper than any scan result. Monday morning brought a soft knock on the door, pulling me from fitful sleep. There stood Ethel Thompson, my grandma, 78 years young, with her silver hair pinned back and that navy sweater she'd worn to every family gathering since I could remember. Her eyes, bright as the Franklin sunrises she loved, locked on mine. Alexis, honey, Dylan called last night, told me everything. She crossed the room in 3 purposeful steps, her old leather purse clutched like a shield, and enveloped me in a hug that smelled of lavender and resolve. Dylan hovered in the doorway, relief etching his features. She insisted on coming right away. Ethel pulled back, her hand cupping my cheek, thumb brushing away a stray tear. No words for this, child, but action. That's my language. From the purse, she withdrew a thick envelope, 4 bundles of crisp $100 bills totaling $20,000. This closes your gap for the trial. No questions, no payback timeline. My mouth went dry, the weight of it sinking in. Ethel lived simply in her Franklin cottage, off royalties from folk gigs decades old and a modest pension. This wasn't spare change, it was her safety net. Grandma, I can't. She pressed the envelope into my palm, firm as a stage cue. You can, and you will. Keep that house in East Nashville. It's your stage, your harmony with Dylan. Focus on beating this, not selling dreams. The gesture cracked something in me, gratitude flooding the cracks left by Kyle and Janet's indifference. Dylan nodded, murmuring thanks as he stepped out to handle paperwork, alone with her. I whispered, "How did you know to come?" Dylan said he left a message, but... You walk. Ethel sat on the bed's edge, her voice dropping to that storyteller tone she'd used for bedtime tales. He did more than message, but let's get you squared first. Dr. Selena Moreno arrived mid-morning for rounds, her stethoscope glinting under the lights. Ethel's face lit up. Selena, old friend, tell her the plan. Selena, 45 and sharp as a fiddle string, with dark curls tied back and a warmth that cut through clinical chill, reviewed my chart. The immunotherapy starts today if we greenlight payment. It's aggressive, twice the standard dose to target the tumor fast, but early data shows 70% response in trials like yours. She paused, glancing at Ethel with a shared look I couldn't read. We'll monitor closely. Side effects hit hard: nausea, fatigue, hair loss, but you're young, resilient. As nurses prepped the IV, Ethel squeezed my hand. Selena here's known me since we busked on Broadway as girls. She'll watch over you like family. The line went in smooth, the first drip of the cocktail cold against my vein. Ethel stayed through the initial flush, her presence a steady rhythm, but as the meds kicked in, wooziness crept, and she leaned close. One thing before I go, Alexis, about your father Kyle. He didn't tell you the full story of us, did he? The revelation came soft but seismic, Selena nodding from the corner as Ethel unfolded it. Back in '67, I was 20, singing in smoky dives here in Nashville. Met your grandpa, a road musician with big dreams. But when I got pregnant with Kyle, he bolted for California gigs, left me with nothing but a Gibson and a positive test. I raised that boy alone in Franklin, scraping by on waitress tips and folk circuit scraps. Kyle blamed me for holding him back when he hit 18 and chased his own music pipe dream. Never looked back, not really. Took Janet, built his life. Favored Morgan like I favored fairness, but blood's thin if it's selfish. Her words landed heavy, rewriting the family album in my head. Kyle, the abandoning echo of his father, it explained the favoritism, the way he'd always dismissed my struggles as your choice to chase songs. Tears pricked, but not for pity for the woman who'd sung through her own storm to give me a voice. Why tell me now? Ethel's eyes twinkled fierce. Because this fight, it's yours to win clean. No more carrying their weight, and when the time comes for papers, Selena knows a lawyer who'll make it stick. Ethel left with a kiss to my forehead, promising Sunday dinners in Franklin once I was home. The room emptied, leaving me with the drip's steady tick and Selena's quiet vigil. She's right, Selena said, adjusting the flow. Family's what you build, not born into. Now, about fertility, chemo like this can pause ovulation for months. Sometimes longer. I'd recommend consulting our specialist today. Egg freezing if you're ready. It's covered under trial adjuncts, but act fast. Wait 12 months post-treatment for natural conception to minimize risks. Abnormalities drop to baseline then. The advice pierced deeper than the needle, stirring the ache I'd buried since diagnosis. Motherhood Kennedy's laughter. Tiny hands on guitar strings felt like a melody I might never compose. What if the drugs silenced that too? What legacy was a solo act without an audience? Selena saw the shadow cross my face. Many women in your spot rebuild. Therapy groups here for survivors talking heals the fear. Her hand on mine was brief, professional. But it lingered in my mind as the first wave hit, stomach churning. Skin crawling like strings out of tune. Treatment stretched into a brutal rhythm over the next days. The immunotherapy coursed through. A fire in my veins that left me retching into basins. My body a battlefield. Weight plummeted from 140 to 110 pounds in weeks. Clothes hanging loose like forgotten lyrics. Hair came out in clumps during my first post-drip shower, clogging the drain in dark tangles of visual gut punch that sent me sobbing under the spray. Fever spiked at night, chills racking me until Dylan piled blankets high. His arms my only anchor. He never left. Rotating shifts with work calls from the waiting room. Nights were worst, when delirium blurred the lines between tumor and toxin. I'd wake gasping, convinced the end had come early, only for Dylan to be there, guitar in lap, strumming a soft folk tune Ethel had taught him years back. Hush now, little one, he'd sing low, adapting the lullaby for me, his voice rough but steady. The river runs deep, but the bridge holds true. The melody wrapped around the pain, a counterpoint to the beeps and flushes, reminding me of stages we'd shared, harmonies we'd chase again. One evening, as the fever broke and I managed sips of ginger tea, Selena checked in with vitals, holding steady, tumor markers down 10%, already early win. But her eyes scanned me fully. And the fertility consult they can schedule tomorrow. I nodded, the question bubbling unbidden. How do you heal when illness steals your chance at being a mom, when every plan feels poisoned? She sat, stethoscope dangling, one note at a time, groups full of women who've walked this. Some freeze, some adopt, some redefine family on their terms. It's not loss, it's remix. Her words echoed Ethel's, a bridge over the dread. As she left, Dylan resumed his song, the chords weaving hope into the haze. The trial was war, but these voices, they were my backup band. The infusions became a weekly gauntlet, each one a battle won inch by inch. But the fourth week's MRI flipped the script. Dr. Marvin Grant strode into the room that Tuesday in late June 2022, his usual measured pace quickened by a grin that split his face. Alexis, Dylan tumors down 40%, better than projected. This trial's responding. The monitor flickered with images. The mass that had loomed like a storm cloud now shrunken, edges frayed. Dylan whooped, pulling me into a bear hug that jostled the IV stand. I stared at the screen. disbelieving. The numbers blurring through fresh tears. 40%. Not a cure, but a foothold, a verse turning the chorus. By week 7, the scans told an even bolder story, 70% reduction. Markers in my blood dipping like a fading outro. Dr. Grant slapped the folder shut, excitement cracking his professional shell. One of the strongest responses I've seen. You're a fighter, Alexis. Discharge came mid-November, after the initial cycle wrapped with no major setbacks. I walked out of Vanderbilt on wobbly legs, the autumn chill nipping at my bare scalp under the beanie Dylan had knit. Weight crept back to 125 pounds, enough to fill up my jeans without belting them tight. The Nashville streets felt alive again, honky-tonk riffs drifting from doorways, a reminder that the show went on. Back in East Nashville, gratitude became our anthem. I fired off a video call to Logan Grant that evening, his producer's studio cluttered with microphones in the background. Logan, the scans, it's working. Your $50,000 bought me this shot. He waved it off, leaning into the camera with a wink. Told you payback's your next platinum single. No interest, no rush. Just keep that voice gold. His laugh eased the knot in my chest. Logan had bet on me when banks wouldn't touch trials. Quinn Walsh swung by the next day, her graphic design backpack slung over one shoulder, a 6-string acoustic tucked under her arm. Sis, heard the news from Mom. Brought reinforcements. She tuned up right there in the living room, strumming a upbeat bluegrass riff she'd tweaked from one of my demos. Play along if you can, therapy through strings. We jammed for an hour, her fingers flying while I picked tentative chords. Laughter bubbling up for the first time in months. Philip and Deborah Walsh followed with a care package homemade cornbread, herbal teas for nausea, and a card scrawled in Deborah's looping script, "Our daughter's voice echoes in you. Proud doesn't cover it." No mention of the $80,000 it was theirs to give, ours to receive without tally. Ethel Thompson called that Friday, her voice crackling over the line from Franklin. "Grandbaby, pack a bag. Sunday lunch here, proper celebration. And bring Dylan. We've got business." Cheer. The business hung cryptic, but her tone brooked no argument. We arrived at her cottage that afternoon, the air scented with roasting pork and apple pie. Florence Ellis, Ethel's eldest daughter, my aunt, 55 and sharp as a mandolin pick, already seated on the porch swing. Florence pulled me into a quick embrace, her perfume floral and familiar. "Heard about the scans, knew you had that fighter's fire." The living room filled fast after Ethel's summons text. Kyle, Janet, and Morgan shuffled in like guests at a tense rehearsal, faces tight. Kyle nodded curtly at me. Avoiding Dylan's gaze, Janet fussed with her purse, Morgan scrolling her phone with feigned disinterest. Ethel waited until coffee steamed on the coffee table, then gestured to the empty armchair. "Sit, all. Mr. Ralph Riley's on his way, my lawyer. Time to update the will." The word will dropped like a bass drop, eyes widening around the room. Kyle shifted. "Mom, now, with Alexis just out." Ethel's chair creaked as she rose, her posture ramrod straight. "Now, because yesterday's too late. Ralph, come in." Mr. Ralph Riley, 48 suit, crisp as fresh sheet music, entered with a leather briefcase, nodding politely. "Mrs. Thompson." Ethel turned to Kyle, voice steel-edged. "Son, did I ever play favorites between you and Florence?" He blinked, caught off guard. "No, Mom, always even." She nodded slow. "Good. So why'd you let Alexis die for Morgan's down payment, $300,000 from that Hendersonville plot, $250,000 locked in contracts? Bank chasing the rest." Laughing while she begged, Janet bristled. "Kyle's just practical. Alexis is strong. Our girl can handle herself." Ethel's laugh was bitter, a discord in the melody. "Strong like you, Janet, or like me. Raising Kyle alone after his father ran to California lights." The room froze, Morgan's phone slipping to her lap. Ethel snatched a folder from Ralph. The old will draft yellowed at the edges. "You said it strong can handle herself. Kyle's my son, strong too. He can handle nothing." With a rip that echoed like torn strings, she shredded the pages, confetti fluttering to the rug. "This house goes to Florence. $600,000 from my land sales to Alexis, for her fight and future." Kyle lunged forward, face paling. "Mom, you can't." Ethel cut him with a raised palm, gesture commanding as a conductor's halt. "I can, and I am. Ralph, draw it up." Morgan's eyes flashed fury. This is insane after everything. Janet clutched Kyle's arm. Think of the family. Ethel whirled on them. Voice thunder. Family. You mocked her death sentence at that table. Out all three of you. Don't darken my door again, or Ralph calls the sheriff for trespass. The air crackled as they stood. Kyle's shoulders slumping. Janet's lips trembling. Morgan snatching her phone with a glare that could curdle milk. They filed out, the screen door banging shut like a final chord. Florence exhaled. Bold move. Ma. Ethel sank back, hand trembling slightly as she poured fresh coffee. Necessary. Now. Alexis, post this if you want. Let the truth breathe. That night, from our East Nashville couch, fingers flying on my laptop, I crafted an anonymous Reddit post to I tore Nashville and R true off my chest. Nashville family laughed at my brain cancer diagnosis, prioritized sister's house over my life. How do you cut toxic ties? No names, but details sharp: the dinner mockery, the land sale, the sneer. By morning, upvotes surged past 200. Comments flooding with solidarity. Mine did the same with my MSNC'd them all. The thread crossed to local Facebook groups. Whispers reaching Morgan's agency circles. By Tuesday, her LinkedIn buzzed with concerned messages. Wednesday, the call came. We're letting you go, restructuring. Scandal spread like wildfire in dry grass, her golden resume singed. Ralph finalized the will by week's end. Notarized in Franklin's quiet town hall. Ethel signed with a flourish, turning to me. Your line in the sand. Honey, hold it. The $600,000 hit our account. A buffer for remaining rounds and that fertility consult looming. Dylan wrapped an arm around me. We did it. But as I scrolled the Reddit replies, one question burned. How do you set boundaries when blood pulls you under? The answers poured in therapy. No contact letters. Reclaiming your narrative, mine starting with a song. Verses of boundaries etched in twang. Ralph Riley's notary stamp hit the paper with a decisive thud 2 weeks after the Franklin gathering, sealing the will's new terms into legal stone. But peace was short-lived. The first crack appeared that evening in my inbox. A subject line screaming, "Family share, urgent." It was from Janet's email. CC'd to Kyle and Morgan. Alexis. The will change is unfair. Grandma's money belongs to all blood. Send half the $600,000 by Friday or we talk lawyers. Love, Mom. The love landed like a bad harmony. Twisting the knife from the dinner table, Dylan read over my shoulder, his face darkening. They're not letting go. I forwarded it to Ralph immediately. His reply swift. Document everything. This borders harassment. But the messages multiplied overnight. Kyle's text at 2 a.m. You poisoned Mom against us. Pay up or regret it. Morgan's DM on Instagram. Casual venom. Nice Reddit sob story. Hope your boundaries keep you warm when we're homeless. The digital barrage felt like stage lights glaring too hot, relentless and unblinking. Round 2 of the trial loomed that Wednesday, pulling me back to Vanderbilt for another infusion. Dylan drove. My beanie pulled low over regrowth fuzz, but the parking lot ambush hit before we reached the doors. Kyle's truck idled curbside, Janet and Morgan spilling out like extras in a bad music video. Alexis, Janet called, voice shrill over the lot's hum. They blocked our path. Kyle's arms crossed like a bouncer at Tootsie's. We came to talk about the money. It's family, can't you see? Dylan stepped forward, keys jangling in his fist. Not here, not now. Morgan pushed past him, eyes locked on me. You post that crap online, ruin my job prospects, and ghost us, give us our share $300,000 split fair. Her finger jabbed the air inches from my chest, the scent of her cheap perfume mixing with exhaust. Janet clutched a printed email chain, waving it. We have rights, blood rights. Kyle loomed, muttering, pay or we sue for undue influence on Mom. The crowd from the entrance turned heads, phones slipping out for discreet snaps. My pulse hammered, the familiar throb warning of another flare. Get out of our way, I snapped. Voice low but edged. Dylan dialed security on speaker, the line picking up mid-ring. Vanderbilt ER intruders harassing a patient. Kyle lunged a step, but Dylan shoved him back gently, enough to create space. Touch her, and it's assault. Morgan's face twisted. Assault. You're the thief. Nurses spilled out, badges flashing, escorting us inside while campus cops arrived for Kyle's group. Trespass warning, one barked. Don't come back. Inside triage. Dr. Marvin ordered a quick check, no bleed. But stress elevates risks. Log this. Dylan paced the hall. Phone to ear with Ralph. We've got recordings, voice memos from the lot, screenshots of emails. File now. By noon, Ralph had the petition drafted, order of protection under Tennessee law for harassment and stalking. Evidence stacked, dinner audio. Dylan had captured discreetly my announce. Their laughs. The email chain. Instagram DMs, lot video from a bystander's tip. Temporary ex parte today, Ralph confirmed. Judge reviews evidence same day, no notice to them if immediate danger. The clerk stamped it, approved by 4 p.m. A 12-page document barring Kyle, Janet, and Morgan from contact phone, email, social, or physical within 500 yards of me or our home. Violations misdemeanor. Jail time. The bailiff explained as Dylan collected copies. Relief hit like cool air after a hot set, but the high faded fast. Morgan's scandal snowballed that night. My Facebook post to the Nashville Women's Empowerment Group. Family mocked my cancer fight. Cut off in will, how do you empower against harassment? Garnered 300 reactions by bedtime. Comments rolled in. NC my sister after she stole my savings. Therapy saved me. Document everything. Courts listen to women now. The thread leaked to her agency's internal Slack. Someone from the group knew a coworker. By Thursday, Morgan texted from a burner number. Trace later. You ruined me. Fired today because of your empowerment BS. Happy, her profile went dark. LinkedIn frozen mid-update. Whispers hit Nashville's tight music marketing circle. Gigs dried up. Contacts ghosted. Janet called Dylan's work line Friday. Voice breaking. Morgan spiraling, lost her job. Can't pay rent. Please. Talk sense into Alexis. Dylan hung up, blocking the number. Not our circus anymore. The hearing came swift. 12 days post-filing in Davidson County Courthouse, a squat brick building off Broadway. Dylan and I sat front row, Ralph beside us with a binder thick as a lyric book. Kyle, Janet, and Morgan filed in opposite, faces gaunt under fluorescent hum. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s with a gavel scarred from use, scanned the petition. Ms. Monroe, your testimony. I took the stand, voice steady despite the knot. They laughed at my diagnosis over dinner, called me an actor. Emails demanded half grandma's money, showed at the hospital. Blocking entry, threatening suit. It's fear. Your honor, fear for my health, my family. Ralph cued the lot audio. Morgan's jab, Janet's wave, Kyle's mutter. The judge's brow furrowed. Mr. Brooks. Response. Kyle stood, suit rumpled. It's family dispute, not harassment. She's twisting the will. Janet nodded. We just want fairness. Morgan fidgeted, avoiding my gaze. The judge leaned forward. Fairness. Mocking terminal illness, demanding funds during treatment. This is coercion. She ruled permanent for 1 year, no contact. No proximity extendable on affidavit. Violate, and it's contempt. Possible incarceration. We exited to lobby, murmurs, Kyle's glare burning my back. This isn't over, he hissed low. Ralph stepped between. It is legally. Outside. Dylan high-fived Ralph. Nailed it. The order felt like a locked vault, safeguarding the harmony we'd clawed back. Morgan's downfall amplified. Agency blacklisted her in Nashville circles. Freelance dried to nothing. Rent notices piling. Janet's voicemails intercepted by Ralph pleaded isolation. Friends cut us off after the post. Kyle's stressed, snapping at everything. No pity stirred. Empowerment bloomed in the silence they'd enforced. That evening, scrolling the women's group replies. One line resonated. Empowerment's not revenge, it's peace on your terms. How do you empower yourself when family harassment turns to isolation? The stories below mine offered blueprints, therapy apps, support circles, legal hotlines. Mine a no-contact journal. Verses of freedom strummed quiet on my guitar. The vault held firm, our life resuming its rhythm, unshadowed. November 2022 wrapped the trial's first cycle in a fragile victory, the final infusion fading like the last note of an encore. Dr. Marvin Grant delivered the all-clear that crisp Thursday, his voice carrying a rare lilt. No detectable tumor mass, remission full stop. The words echoed in the sterile room. Dylan leaping from his chair to wrap me in a spin that nearly toppled the monitor. We did it, babe. You're clear. Tears mixed with laughter as I clung to him. the weight of 6 months sloughing off like old skin. Vanderbilt's halls felt less like a cage, more like a backstage pass to reclaim. Ethel insisted on marking it proper. Her Franklin cottage transformed that Sunday into a makeshift honky-tonk haven. Yellow streamers draped the mantel Hope's color, she'd say, and a homemade cake crowned the table, iced with "Welcome Back to the Nashville" stage in wobbly script. Logan Grant arrived first, arms loaded with takeout ribs from Prince's. His producer grinned wide. To the headliner who beat the set list, Quinn Walsh trailed him, guitar case in tow, her 22-year-old energy lighting the space. "Sis, this riff's for you, bluegrass twist on your ballad." Florence Ellis bustled in next, Aunt Florence with her floral scarf and quick hugs, bearing apple pie from her bakery shift. "Knew you'd encore, kid." The afternoon blurred into song and stories, Logan strumming backups while Quinn picked lead, their harmonies weaving around Ethel's folk tales of roadhouse nights. Dylan manned the grill out back, flipping burgers with Philip and Deborah Walsh, their laughter carrying on the breeze. I sat amid it, cake fork in hand, the sweetness cutting through the metallic aftertaste of meds. Ethel caught my eye, raising her glass of sweet tea. "To voices that don't break." The toast rippled, a chorus of clink sealing the moment. For the first time since the Bluebird fall, family felt like melody, not discord. Fast forward to September 2025, and that melody had bloomed into daily rhythm. Our East Nashville house hummed with Kennedy's gurgles at dawn, her 9-month-old fist banging a toy xylophone as I jotted lyrics by the window, sunlight slanting across notebook pages. "Tiny hands on strings," I murmured, the line sparking a verse about legacies past quiet. Dylan rose early for engineering calls, kissing us both before heading out. His "break a leg today," a ritual wink at my freelance gigs. Evenings brought him home to BBQ on the back patio, smoke curling lazy as we grilled chicken thighs, Kennedy in her high chair smacking pureed peas. Bedtime was our duet, Dylan on guitar, me humming the melody Ethel had passed down, lulling her to sleep with tales of wandering fiddlers finding home. Weekends pulled us to Franklin, Ethel's cottage a constant in the chaos. She'd scoop Kennedy onto her lap, silver hair tickling chubby cheeks, and croon those old folk tunes, voice weathered but true. "See that fire in her? Alexis, same as yours." The drives back were debriefs with Dylan, dissecting set lists or nursery rhymes, our partnership a steady baseline, life as a hit after the flop single Remission held through quarterly scans, fertility consults greenlit natural paths, and my voice stronger. Albums in the works with Logan's polish, Betrayal's scar faded to a faint chord, overwritten by this harmony. One lazy Saturday afternoon in mid-September, Kennedy napping in her crib, Dylan and I lounged on the porch swing, his arm around me as I strummed idle riffs. The doorbell jolted us, a sharp ding cutting the quiet. Through the peephole, my blood ran cold. Kyle, Janet, and Morgan on the stoop. Aged a decade in 3 years, Kyle's hair thinned gray, Janet's eyes hollowed. Morgan gaunt under makeup caked heavy. They shifted, Morgan clutching a folder, Kyle's knuckles white on the railing. Dylan tensed. "Want me to handle it?" I shook my head, resolve stealing. "No, this is mine." I cracked the door just wide enough for words. Chain latched firm. The live stream app open on my phone in pocket voiceover mode. No faces. Ready to capture if needed. "What do you want?" Kyle's voice cracked first, pleading. "Alexis, please, we need to talk." Janet stepped forward, hands wringing. "It's Morgan. Doctors found breast cancer stage 3. Genetic link maybe from Dad's side. Treatment's $200,000. Out of pocket. We can't, after everything." Morgan met my eyes. Her former sneer crumbled to desperation. "Sis, I know I was wrong. The dinner, the posts ruined my career. But help, like you helped with the truck, the roof, family." The irony twisted like a sour note, their knees buckling to the porch wood in a synchronized plea, hands clasped. Kyle's sob broke. "We lost the house foreclosure after the job fallout. Janet and I, we're separating. Stress too much." Janet nodded, tears streaking. "Friends gone, all from that group post. Please. For blood." Morgan's folder trembled printouts of bills. Scans blurred. The sight stirred nothing but echo. Their mockery at my table. The ambush at Vanderbilt. the emails demanding my survival fund. I leaned in, voice even. The phone's record light a silent witness. So, someone's about to die. The sneer from the hook slipped out, cold as a minor key. Morgan's face crumpled. Don't please. Kyle reached through the gap, but I slammed the door, the thud resounding like a dropped bass, chain rattling secure. From inside, Dylan's arms wrapped me as I hit record on the app, voiceover only, no visuals. They laughed when I announced my cancer at dinner, demanded my grandma's money while I fought for life. Now they beg on knees for theirs. I choose harmony over hate. The clip ended at 30 seconds, uploaded to the women's group as karma doorbell from sneer to plea empowerment wins. Ethel heard by evening, her call calm. I wired for Morgan's treatment, grandbaby's blood, after all, but Kyle and Janet doors locked forever. Her choice sealed the divide. She visited weekly, spoiling Kennedy with tiny banjos. But holidays came solo for them. Franklin's lights dimmed to her alone. The fallout cascaded. Morgan's agency blacklist held. Freelance gigs evaporated in Nashville's Whisper network. Bills mounting to bankruptcy under Tennessee code. Her apartment evicted mid-chemo. Kyle's truck repossessed. Stress fracturing his marriage. Janet filed papers citing irreconcilable toxicity. Court records public fodder. Friends scattered. Old ties severed by the group's shares. Knew them from church, cut contact after the story. Isolation wrapped them tight. A slow fade no encore could save. Scrolling the comments that night. Women's voices rose in chorus. Cut ties saved my sanity post-divorce. Empowerment slamming that door. Therapy next. How do you educate yourself on healing when karma isolates the betrayers? The replies built a blueprint. Books on boundaries. Podcasts for survivor moms. Circles for reclaiming worth. For me, it was verses penned in quiet hours. Transforming scar to scar. Tissue strong. Betrayal didn't define. It refined. To the women walking similar stages, 25 to 45, juggling careers and cribs. Remember, betrayal doesn't own your narrative. Set those boundaries fierce. Heal through the support that shows up. Turn pain into power like strumming back on stage. Karma's not lightning. It's the quiet echo of choices. Fading the selfish to spotlight your harmony. Choose your band wisely. Live untouchable. Ladies, do you forgive a toxic family or cut them off for good? Share your story below. Your strength lifts us all. Drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more real-life karma tales that resonate like a country hit.